Five, four, three, two, one, and glow. You guys, welcome to a special edition of F-Bomb Friday. Thank you all for waiting. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty with getting in, but trust me, now that we're in here, it's about to glow down. We are glowing in on the topic of divestment now, or divesting. I want to say personally, I want to thank, before we get started, before this show gets going, because it will be going and it'll be rolling. I want to thank our guest panel today, members today. I want to thank Keisha Green for being first in the chat and amen, ready to go. I want to thank our guest panelist, Mr. Screen Learning out of Las Vegas, so he's on that West Coast time. You all, I've been watching the content on his channel. I was definitely very impressed with his cuties review. I reached right out and he has been on it. He's been ready to come in and feed in on these topics. So I am loving it, and I love that. I love that we are having our glowers light up for this particular topic. So what is divestment? So divestment is when a group has decided to pull away from the group and go their own way, so to speak. Now, a couple of years ago, when the Mcdowell movement or the Black manosphere got very popular, I didn't hear a lot about divestment. I started learning about divestment about 2 years ago. And what ended up happening was I would be on these channels and I would see, Black men getting thrown under the bus, literally. And I'm like, well, shoot, I have a pretty great Black father. I have Black brothers. I'm raising a Black son. I ascribe to the teachings of Malcolm X. I was married to a lawyer, a professor, why all this bashing on Black men when as a collective, I understand, but individually we're making individual choices. And so when I would say this in these rooms, I was called all types of mammies, all types of pick-me's, all types of cleanup womans, all type of handmaids. They pushed me through the ringer. And so I would stop just going on those channels just because the nature was so, they were trying to scare me. Thank you, Keisha. The nature of the conversations were so toxic. I stopped, ascribing to it. I stopped going to some of the channels, a lot of the content, and this is for men and women, because what I saw was that it was being antagonized by the men, but it was being, what it caused was the women to jump on other women. So, instead of you talking about the men in your life that have done this to you, they would be talking to the women, and I don't have no penis. And, I don't have nothing to divest from. So, but you're talking like I'm the one that did the dirty, because I'm saying, no, my Black brother of all of us, who's the only male in a family of women, out of, he has all sisters. He's the one that's been married the longest. My mom and dad were married for all the years.
So I'll just kind of jump in because Courtney's internet has had issues. So I'm CK with Screen Learning Channel, also Parkland Media YouTube channel, and Plato's Cave YouTube channel, and also For the Love of Vegas YouTube channel. I have been on YouTube for a little bit under a year now. Thank you, Courtney, for having me.
Absolutely, thank you.
My background is in finance. I currently own an investment and holding company. I'm currently writing a book that deals with the MORE movement. That is multiple opportunities, reinvest earnings. And also my content is pretty much investment, wealth creation, current events, sometimes politics, and really a host of different things that you can enjoy specifically on the Screen Learning channel. So thanks, Courtney, for having me on to discuss this topic, and I guess wherever it goes. And I'll kind of let you continue since you're back.
Thank you also for coming on and for being this ready to jump in here, because we wanted to understand what we want to do is to build.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take the wheel for a second. So yeah, just to kind of roll into the same thought process that she was kind of pushing out there. Um, so from what I've seen from the divestment movement, there are some valid points, and some people who are pushing the divested movement. Some of them are race hustlers. They're telling people what they want to hear in order to get donations from them and sell them
Investing
classes.
from.
Also,
How is that possible? You know, that's like a dog saying, I don't want to be a dog. I mean, I'm not going to date dogs anymore, but you're a dog. You know, maybe that's a bad example. I don't know. But, you know, like I said, you know, my dad, I was actually told, hey, mom and daughter, I was actually told, oddly enough, interestingly enough, I was actually told by a person in one of these divesting rooms, their dad was the last greatest Black man alive. They don't make real men like their dad anymore. So I'm like, wait, hold up, sis. You get to have the last magical Negro, sis. Sis. Sis, just you, huh? So my Black daddy, who married my Black mother after a divorce from her ex-husband, and she had not one, not two, but 3 children, count them. My father had no children. Run tell that. He had no children, came out of the army, you know, could have done anything with his money. What did he do? He took my Black mother, got a house, got married, and they had me and my sister. And let me tell you, I was 8 years old before I ever realized that my older siblings were from another man, because my dad did not tolerate them being made to feel like they were you know, not his. Okay, and all 5 of us count.
Yeah, so Keisha Green in the chat, she's right. Mental illness does have something to do with it. And we have to kind of first understand that we don't want to look at it at surface level. There are a lot of people who have experienced unresolved.
College, went to college graduates, you know, as were my mom and my dad. They got married after they graduated from college. Okay. And on top of that, my mother's ex-husband would come pick up his children. So much so that I started going with him. Because I was the youngest. I was like, well, where they get to go and I can't go.
Right.
And so, you know, so you're not going to get up and tell me that you had the last greatest Black daddy. And then on top of that, let's move it further on down the line. People love to say, oh, that doesn't exist anymore. My ex-husband, professor, lawyer. When we married, we were both students. You know, we married at 19 and at 21. I was 19, he was 21. Mm-hmm. But you know, he went on to become a professor, Ivy League educated Black man. Okay. Went on to become a lawyer, went on to become a professor, fought for the marriage, fought very hard. It was me in my own foolishness that lost that marriage. And I can admit that. That's accountability. So when I say, ladies, when we start talking about divestment, what are we truly divestment from? Keisha Green says, mental illness is a hell of a drug. So, Brother Bakari is here. Thank you, Brother Bakari. He just joined us from another chat, from Brother Guy's chat. Thank you so much, Brother Bakari. So without further ado, because I know I keep kind of cutting in on your take, brother, I want you to go ahead and just weigh in on this topic, you know, because we're hearing it from all ends. But I said what's more hurtful to me is that when we attack each other, because like I said, I haven't had those experiences where I've been with the, you know, and I've been assaulted. I've been assaulted by men that weren't Black men. But I don't hate that. You know, I don't say, oh, you know, I don't see why anybody would marry a da-da-da-da because they're all like this. I don't do that. So I think that there's something to be said there. And I would love to hear that male side of it in regards to what your take on divestment is, what you've seen with it. And then you guys, we are definitely going to be opening up this panel. So get ready if you want to join on. We're going to be opening this up. This is a special live tonight, y'all. We are glowing in. So without further ado, I am going out officially now. I'm going to mute. I'm going to go out. And I want you to just give us a little bit of your background and your take and why.
Okay, so one thing I used to do when I was in the Army, I was a sexual assault investigator. And one thing I can say is that when people deal with childhood trauma, childhood issues, if they don't get that stuff resolved, it can change and warp their thinking and almost shape the way that they move. And it can go into how they perceive things as far as the problems and choices, the problems that they have and choices that they've made, whatever they have unresolved from their childhood or unresolved from a past relationship, not getting that closure, it can factor into their decision making. And then you have these race hustlers and you have these groups online talking about divesting. A lot of them are like gangs and even cults with brainwashing, telling people, well, it's his fault that he got you pregnant, he didn't marry you, and now you're dealing with a bunch of children from him. Or it's not your fault because someone assaulted you, and they're all black men assaulted you, and the reason why your mother didn't believe you was because black men are evil. So most of the conversation is really anti-black man or anti-black race, and it's not really productive. So, I'm sorry to hear, Courtney, that you experienced that, and I'm glad that you were able to either self-help or get help for that. But there's a lot of people who don't get that help, and it festers inside of them and it molds and shapes their thinking. And then they come online onto YouTube, and when they start hearing about leveling up and you're going, to a rich, let's say, white man can solve your problems, pay all your bills, take care of your kids, that is the answer, then it turns into them thinking, well, you know what? A lot of things that happened to me, black men did that to me. And then a lot of decisions that I've made, maybe it's not my fault, it's their fault because they didn't do what a quote unquote real man would do and help me in my situation, or abuse me or do whatever. And now all the problems of my life have been solved by my race. If I divest, that'll solve a lot of my problems. So some of the people online who push that type of agenda and that information, some of the information is factual. I mean, if you grow up in an area and everyone is the same race as you, due to proximity crime, you're going to experience black on black crime. And you're going to be thinking possibly that, well, if I would have been growing up around a different race, then this thing or that thing wouldn't have happened to me. Or thinking that, well, my husband and I were having financial problems. Had I been with a different race, he would have been able to get a better job, get a promotion, get a this and a that, and I would have had a different situation. So the village didn't protect me, and a lot of this stuff is valid. It's valid, and it's a shame because, unfortunately, in my opinion, in taking people as is, you can't really argue with these people. It's just like talking to someone who's a racist. That barnyard way of thinking where they have their talking points and they use stereotypes like Pookie and Ray Ray. If someone wants to be educated or they want an honest discussion, then we can give them that. But people who are stuck in their barnyard and backwards way of thinking, you could even say that it's white supremacy. Just dealing with those people, there's not really much you can do, and it's best to just avoid them and leave them alone. Because when discussing things with them, they're going to be saying, well, what about this? What about that? And we're dealing with a lot of mental illness. We're also dealing with people who they blame their situation on the resources that they didn't have. And the book I'm actually writing, it talks about that, in that the womb you come out of and the zip code you're raised, you grow up in, it pretty much determines your trajectory. So a lot of people, they do have the unplanned births, and men have been leaving the household. Not everyone's fortunate to have a father in their life. Then also you have to factor in the crack era, the crack epidemic, and then the music that we have. The music and the culture is not necessarily about prosperity. The music is misogynistic, and it does talk negative about Black women. And then you have those rappers who in the 90s, they were calling Black women B's and H's. They have divested and they're married to someone who is non-Black. So all those talking points kind of go into the whole divestment movement. And in my opinion, if whoever someone wants to date, that's their choice. That's on them. If you're happy, you're happy. But what we're seeing is not necessarily people who want to interracially date. It's people who are swirlers, where they are all about getting anyone who's a non-Black man, and it's better than a Black man in their eyes. And you'll hear it in their rhetoric, because they'll be hateful. They'll say different terms like, oh, I wish I could make all of you strange fruit. Or they'll talk about, well, Black men are dominated by a different group. There's a grand society, and I want to be a part of that. I no longer want to be a part of where I am. And so it's just one of those things where, first we have to be, in my opinion, individualistic in nature, because if you associate or align yourself with a group or an ideology, what ends up happening is you start to think that perhaps maybe I can change my situation or change the way I live by lying to someone and fishing to level up. We should level up by our own hand. And a lot of these divestors who are negative with their divesting, we'll call them swirlers. A lot of them, they really focus on somewhat hate. They really are dealing with hate and not trying to be married or to be married with the idea in mind that marriage is a business and it's not for you to level up, so to speak. So everybody's out here trying to get a rich man, trying to get a rich white man to ride off into the sunset and have all their problems solved. And what ends up happening is they're upset when it doesn't happen, or they end up getting with someone who is worse than what they have, and they kind of justify it to themselves by saying, well, even though I have a bottom shelf Brad or a no change Chad, it's better than a high value Tyrone, using the buzzwords, so to speak. So it's definitely, a level up by your own hand. It's definitely a lot that goes into that. There's a lot of people on YouTube and social media who are pushing those agendas. You got someone that says that they're the girl who swirls. And what's sad is that people end up spending thousands of dollars for these courses, teaching them how to be feminine, teaching them how to wear makeup, teaching them how to bat their eyes, how to talk softly, how to arch their back. People spend thousands of dollars on these courses, and then when they go out somewhere, they go to a affluent area, they're disappointed because you going to this bar with blonde hair and this fitted dress and these heels and, trying to catch a rich man, when no one comes to talk to them and they have to pay for a meal or pay for a drink and they can't afford to be there, then they get a rude awakening. So, I agree, dating, I don't think dating outside of one's race is not going to solve your problems, because you have to understand, with us being in America, I think Courtney's in America as well. But let's say if you date outside your country and you date into a different culture, you have to understand that their expectations are going to be different than what you're used to. So now you're having to change your culture, you're having to adapt. And Outside the US, a lot of stuff that people, or we'll just say women, get away with in the US, they don't play that in Saudi Arabia. They don't play that in Asia. They don't play that in Europe. Here it's really big with feminism and woman empowerment. They don't do that stuff across seas. Across seas, they're like America back in 1940. And then you have some people with the divestment movement. They're sour that they find out that other cultures have a caste system based off of your skin tone. So, for example, in Asia, if you work outside all day, you're going to be a darker color than people who are indoors all day. So darker colored people are considered lower caste or poor. And so when you go to divest into these cultures that have that caste system or that way of thinking, you unfortunately may find out that you're fetishized and you're just a fetish. Then you have kids by this person, and now it's you with these kids who don't look like anybody who looks like you, and now you have more issue with trying to rebound from that situation. So it's pros and cons on it, and it overall you want to be happy. I do understand that there's a lot of black men online who tell women that, oh, the reason why you didn't get picked is because of your weight or your age. There's people who are saying that if you're not between the ages of 18 to 24 years old, if you're older than that, you're in the danger zone. I mean, there is that rhetoric, that is that talk. There's also people who talk about, well, if you use, we call it weave, but every group, every race uses hair extensions. So if you use hair extensions or makeup, then that's the reason why you didn't get picked. And then they call people ugly, and it's a whole host of different hate that goes on. And it's better for you to kind of hear what someone's saying. And if they're saying hate speech, talking about your hair, your makeup, your weight, your height, your age, if they start talking about all that and you feel yourself being attacked, it's best for you to just leave that panel alone, leave that channel alone, because they're not really there for empowerment or there for glow up. They're there to really just bash women or bash men. And you'll experience it. You'll be in a chat room and you'll say, well, the stuff that this content creator is saying, I hear what they're saying, but no one's going to manage or measure up to be like your father. You and your father's relationship was different because your father had an obligation to you, whereas a husband is going to be a different dynamic. They don't want to hear stuff like that. They're going to say, well, a real man would do X, Y, Z, whereas a woman should never, in my opinion, a woman should never speak on what a real man would do or not do, because you've never been a man. Yes, you may have had a father, brothers, uncles. However, they can speak on what they would do in a situation as a man. But if you're not a man, you can't speak on that. So we have to watch out for that. And then even if you hear men say, well, a real woman would, cook and clean and do all that, the days of, unfortunately, the days of us having gender roles are kind of in the past. And nowadays, it's good to take the gender roles if you want to be traditional, but you don't have to. We have machines that can wash dishes called dishwashers. I even hire a maid service to clean my place every now and then. I even have a chef that I pay to come make food. There's a lot of things that we used to have associated with gender roles that we no longer have to do that stuff. So the idea or the thought process really should be when dating someone, asking simple questions like, what is your intentions? Are you marriage minded? Because most guys, I'm just going to put it out there, they really want to beat, skeet, delete. They want to pump and dump, smash and dash, and they'll tell you what they think you want to hear to get in your pants. And then you may end up feeling like a lot of women feel in these spaces where they start hearing things like, well, him pumping and dumping you had nothing to do with you not asking questions. It's because he's a dog. He ain't nothing. And all black men are like that. So once you start hearing people use terms like all or majority and this and that, then you know it's time to just kind of turn them off. And they're basically pushing an agenda, saying different things to race hustle and get donations from your pocket into theirs, tell you what you want to hear to give you somewhat of, we'll just say, I'll just say comfort food, so that whatever you're thinking, it takes the onus off of your hands and kind of blame someone else. So the blame game is really profound in these groups and on these channels and in these books. Yeah, they use the red and blue pill, and see the hypocrisy of the whole red pill, blue pill movement is that there's black men online. You know, I'll go ahead and drag the black men for a minute. There are black men online talking about, well, if you're red pill, then you're not going to be a simp. Well, the concept of red pill was created by a black woman, and it was put into a screenplay that was purchased by the Wachowski brothers and turned into the Matrix movies. But the idea of the red pill, it wasn't just about dating. It was about the world in general. You know, understanding that there's no point in arguing about who's going to be president of the United States when the Electoral College picks the president. So that's the red pill for that. Or also understanding that trying to go to school so you can get a better paying job, so you can have a secure job. A red pill way of thinking is there is no secure job. No matter what you're doing, it's not your job. It's not your organization unless you own the company. If you own the company, then it becomes your job. It becomes something that you own. But, you know, trying to move up in a company, it's always going to be someone else's company. You're never going to own that job. And the best thing for us to do is to invest, have businesses, have our own industries. And that's the way that we'll get equality and fairness. So there's a couple of red pills. Another red pill would be that a college degree is nothing more than a receipt. Okay, it's just a receipt. And the whole point of academia is teaching you a bunch of instruction manuals. So by you going to school, getting a college degree, that makes you someone who has mastered instruction manuals, but it doesn't guarantee you a job. And when you go through these courses, whether it's junior high, high school, college, even master's degree, when you go into these institutions, they don't even teach you the entire instruction manual. They only teach you bits and pieces of it, maybe like 10 chapters out of like 30. So there's a lot of red pills, and it's unfortunate that people use the red pill concept to attack someone else. And see, when you start to hear rhetoric like that about them attacking someone else, saying, well, you know, all men that open doors for women, or if you marry a woman, or if you take her on a date and you pay for the meal, you're a simp. The only reason why a woman is there is to get a free meal on you. Sooner or later, she's going to monkey branch to someone else. She's going to eventually find someone who's better. And there are cases where that is possible. There are cases of that, but then it becomes somewhat of a confirmation bias, because when the situations that you experienced, was it exactly what someone is describing to you, or did you play a hand in it as well? Because if you played a hand in your relationship, your marriage failing, then you can't simply blame the other person. You got to pretty much understand that it took two people to enter into this thing, and it took two people to fail. Just because someone cheats on you, it is bad for someone to cheat on you or to abuse you, you know, domestic violence. However, you have to kind of take a step back and realize, well, was this person showing me signs that I ignored because I was trying to level up? Because this person was making this amount of money at their job and I was trying to secure the bag. If you're focused on securing this bag, you'll get the bag, but then it's like, at what cost do you get this bag? So it's a whole host of different things that goes into the divestment movement. There's pros to it. There's negatives. All in all, a lot of I did a video on the Screen Learning channel where I kind of compared lifestyle coaches to dating coaches to level up coaches. And there really isn't one better than the other. I will say that when you go there, if they're encouraging you to lie, to cheat, to steal, or if they're telling you that you don't deserve better because of your weight, your age, because you chose to go to school and get a college degree and start a business as opposed to having children when you were young and getting married when you were young, if they're telling you stuff that makes you feel bad, then it's more than likely this is not advice. This is just something that is somewhat of adversarial topics. So yeah, like a lot of red flags. And if you ignore the red flags from the content that you're absorbing, and you ignore the red flags from the relationships that you're in, and you're not learning from the past relationships, then you're going to end up repeating the same pitfalls that you experienced. Because when it comes to love and companionship, you should put yourself first and love yourself first. No one's going to love you or want to treat you better than you treat yourself. That's first and foremost. And the only obligation that you have is to your significant other and your children, not a group, not an ideology. And I know people don't want me to say this, but also not even to a race. Don't be obligated to anything except for yourself and have self-love. Because if you don't have self-love and love yourself more than you can love anyone or any other person, then what ends up happening is that the emptiness and loneliness you feel is going to somewhat overcome your thinking, and you're going to go from critically thinking and rationally thinking, and you're no longer going to be using your crown chakra or your third eye. You're going to be using the heart chakra, which is in your chest, and using that to try to get validation and happiness outside of yourself, as opposed to getting it from within. And when you start seeking things outside of your body, instead of seeking it from within and being a whole person, getting psychological and psychiatric help, talking to people about your issues from your childhood, resolving the unresolved issues, dealing with trauma from past relationships, past marriage. If you don't get it from within yourself and you get it outside of yourself, then you can find yourself one of these cult members and this online divestment movement, and you'll start getting the validation from whoever's speaking. And when they tell you things like, well, if you would have been born in a different race or a different location outside the United States or wherever, then you wouldn't have experienced sexual assault. You wouldn't have experienced poverty. You wouldn't have experienced being bullied. You wouldn't have experienced having your heart broken, or you wouldn't have experienced someone kidnapping your child. It's really easy for someone to kind of just roll that kind of logic into you or in front of you, and you to pick it up and have confirmation bias because you've been dealing with whatever situation you've been dealing with, looking for answers when the answer is inside of you the whole time. So when you look for answers outside of yourself and you're hearing these different groups, these different cults, give out this content, give out this logic, then you're going to end up thinking like, you know what? Maybe I was being a mammy. Maybe I was being a pick-me. Maybe being married means you're a pick-me and I need to level up. I need to get me a rich man so that I could be in a mansion. Yeah, him putting his hands on you and you being lonely and isolated from your family and friends, it goes along with the territory, but at least you live in a mansion. You know, you hear all this rhetoric and all this logic, and it's because a lot of people are hurt, and hurt people, and sometimes they even hurt themselves. So, you know, it's a lot that goes into the logic of the divestment movement. In my opinion, as long as you're happy, that's what matters. And as long as you are putting yourself first and you understand that marriage is a business and you should date with a purpose, then you'll be on a path to understand exactly what you got going on, because you're not really going to come up in life by someone else's hands. Yes, you can marry someone who's rich, someone who makes six figures, a high value person. You could do that. However, it's probable, but not necessarily, no, it's possible, but not necessarily probable. And unfortunately, the older that we get, the less opportunities that we have in life. And it's real easy to blame someone else for our problems, as opposed to understanding exactly the fact that we all make choices, and in the end, our choices make us. Right date with a purpose. So I don't know if I'm sorry I didn't ask how long this was going to be as far as the entire show. I don't know when you wanted to open up the panel, or I didn't know if you, as far as the time frame for this, because right now we're at the 36-minute mark. I'll just kind of, I guess, waiting to see if Courtney's going to open up the panel or what she wants. I'll just kind of go through the chat and I'll go.
Well, I love all that you're saying, so try.
Okay. I didn't know if I was taking up too much time, or if you were like, oh, well, I hope he shuts up so I can open the panel up, because I could run my mouth all day, but I don't want to hog the mic. I mean, if it's going to be an open panel, I'm sure people would want to come in and give their 2 cents, because I know when it comes to rewatching content, a lot of people don't too much like a long video. So I don't know if you were trying to have it like an hour or less, or if you were like, you know what, I don't care about the amount of time, I'll break it up later. I wasn't really sure, but while we wait for Courtney to come back, I'll kind of go through the comments to see if anybody has had any questions or anything worth highlighting. Plan your estate legally in your state. Yeah, you should. The one thing is, a lot of us grew up poor. I grew up poor. If you grew up poor or broke, or your family had stuff, but it wasn't really a lot for you to be a Trump kid, one thing that we lack is generational wealth. A lot of our problems would be solved with generational wealth, and going to our children, and instead of us allowing society to indoctrinate them, we indoctrinate them ourselves. That's one thing that in the past people would do in the early 1900s, and even during the medieval times, is they would indoctrinate their own children, so that when their children would go out into the world, instead of them being susceptible to the WAP movement, to the Cardi B's, to being an Instagram thought, all that stuff wouldn't affect them if they were indoctrinated with stuff that we as parents want to indoctrinate them with, as opposed to society. And we dropped the ball with that. We should be indoctrinating our kids, our children. We should be teaching them, and we should also invest and have assets to give to them, so that when they become adults and they go off in the world, and instead of them having to start over like a lot of us have had to do, they at least have something to build off of. And the number one asset is your mind. The number two asset is information. Information is the key. Information is more powerful than money, because I can give you $1 million right now, and if you don't know exactly what to do with it to grow it or glow it, so to speak, then you're going to end up spending it, or spending it on investments that are not sound, that are too risky, that weren't really worth getting into, and now you go from $1 million to nothing. A wise person once said, I forgot who it was, that you could take all the money in the world from everyone, divide it all up, and after time, it's going to go right back into the same hands it was in, because people who have information and have plans are going to be able to put strategies into motion to get money and move it from your pocket to theirs. And that's why it's very important for us to focus on, hey, what's going on, Omonike? How are you? It's really important for us to focus on generational wealth. what are asset classes, what exactly is investing, what's short-term investing, what's long-term investing, what is the purpose of employment. We go to a job, some people call it the corporate plantation. I was talking to Courtney through email, and she referred to it as the corporate plantation. We go to the corporate plantation, but we don't really understand that this corporate plantation is not really a plantation. It is somewhat of a down payment or bootstrap money for investment for our own business. We have to change the way that we view our job, whether it be McDonald's, working at AT&T, no matter what you do, you definitely have to change the way you think about stuff, because if you think of your job as the corporate plantation, then like a slave, you're going to try to run away. Or like a slave, you're going to just work and be there and be hopeless. You want to think of it as bootstrapping my business, bootstrapping my investment portfolio. You want to think of it in terms of that. And then you want to take time out, whether it be this weekend or whatever weekend, and you want to think, what exactly do I want in life? Where do I see myself 50 years from now, 30 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 1 year from now, 5 days from now? Wherever you see yourself 50 years from now or 30 years from now, you want to backwards plan from that point and decide, okay, this is where I want to be, and this is what I need to do to get there. It's really simple. The number one obstacle that we deal with is ourselves. And usually that obstacle and that roadblock is in our mind, thinking, well, I'm too old to invest, or thinking I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. All that defeatist logic, that defeatist mentality, that defeatist rhetoric, it can cause you to be beaten by yourself before you even get started. And you got to understand that it's more to it than just simply go to work, get money, pay your bills, and whatever's left over, invest. It actually goes into how do you spend your time throughout the day. There's 24 hours in a day, and we sleep 6. So that leaves 18 hours to go to work. And let's say you work 8 hours a day. That leaves 10 hours for your family, for you to exercise, for you to go to school if you want to do that, and even work on your business. So how you spend your time, especially online, will determine exactly how your life is. You can go on YouTube right now or Google, and you can search for how to get rich. And there's like hundreds of videos that can give you sound information on how to invest and how to be rich one day, especially if you have delayed gratification. The problem is that we spend a lot of our times on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. We spend a lot of time with these dysfunctional YouTube live streams. I'm guilty of it. But it's okay to delve into that toxic and dysfunction, perhaps as a reward after you've hit a milestone. See, we are so busy in a party mindset, in a reward mindset, that we're not doing anything to get that reward, to get that dessert. So what ends up happening is we wake up. Let's say if you don't have to work, we don't have to go to a job. We wake up, we check our phone, we go on Facebook, we go on YouTube, we check for our favorite YouTubers and or social or influencers. We see what's going on right now, what's trending. Oh, what's Kim Kardashian doing? Let me read about this. Oh, there was another police shooting. Let me watch this. Oh, there's YouTubers who are fighting on a panel. Let me listen to this. And so when you get into that state of mind of pleasure-seeking activity, then you end up seeking pleasure as opposed to seeking something that'll make you prosperous. Yes, be job creators versus job seekers. And also we have to understand that the goal should be, working a job on the corporate plantation. That's good, especially if you just started out or if you got bills to pay. I mean, it's understandable, but you have to understand that your goal should be to move from one part of the table to the next. And the other part of the table is the owners, the investors, those who are hiring other people. everybody can't be owner. Everybody can't be the boss. Everyone can't be the leader. And once you understand that, even if you work with your people, you have to understand that not everybody is going to be able to win the same. And when that's the reason why you got to put yourself first, because you could think of your job as a corporate plantation, but if you become a business owner and you grow that business, you're going to be creating a plantation. So it's a lot that goes into the whole concept. I don't want to hit you all with too many red pills at once. I don't want to blow your mind. But you definitely want to understand exactly what is going on, what is glowing on, as opposed to what's not going on. Because yes, there are different things that have happened in the past with Black Wall Street. And also you got the Black Codes, you got Jim Crow, you got the crack era, you got the misogynistic music. Also, you have the gang violence. There still is violence right now with the proximity crime. That stuff is there. However, that shouldn't be something to hold you back or as an excuse. That should be a challenge to help you kind of glow up and motivate you to work harder so you're not a statistic. Even if you're a single mother, people talk negative about single mothers, saying that the whole reason the whole world is about to be destroyed and the reason why communities are bad are single mothers. Even with hearing rhetoric like that and the fact that you may be raising children on your own without any help, you want to see it as a challenge. You want to see it as something that once you plan on where you want to be and you get there, you can say, I made it. But, and I got to pick on the women for a second. One thing that, in my opinion, that women don't do is they don't tell their daughters, younger women, and other women the truth about decision making. Because the more mouths you have to feed, the more you have to feed them. And waiting to have children is not a bad thing. I got it. We all want to be married. We all have our sexual desire. We all have that. But you have to understand that the more people you bring into your circle, including children, the harder it's going to be for you. The smaller your bubble, the smaller your trouble. And the more people you have with you, the more you got to take care of them. But don't use that as something to make you depressed. Use that as motivation, because what you have is not yourself as a single mother, but you have children who can help you with your business. Just like in the past, when people had farms, they would have children so they could hire or they could birth out their farm hands, okay? People to help them around the farm. Or you got some cultures where they create a whole bunch of children to help them around their store. So you're not a single mother. You're someone who has ready-made employees. See, if you change the way you think about your situation and what you have going on, the better off you're going to be. Point blank, period. And it all starts with your mind. It all starts with what's up here in your crown chakra, and changing the way you view the world through your third eye, and everything else is going to flow. You have to be balanced. You have to be both high vibration and low vibration, positive. That way you can be balanced with everything you have going on, even if you are in a character building situation. See, if you call it a character building situation and not a problem, then it can motivate you to say, okay, this is where I am. This is where I want to be. How do I get there? And also, you want to set realistic expectations. You do want to have that. And also, you want to have it to where it's top-down planning, bottom-up refinement. So what you see behind me, those are plaques, my retirement certificate from being in the Army. And so I was both enlisted and an officer. And I'm here to tell you that let's just go ahead and just move the conversation to the fact that there are people right now, whether you know them or not, they are working against you. When I was in the Army, I experienced that. where there were people who were actively working against me, not because of race or gender, but because they felt that they could beat me by preventing me from being successful. So they would sabotage my plans, sabotage my vehicles, sabotage my weapon systems, sabotage my soldiers. They would spread rumors. They would do all that stuff because they felt that they could win by sabotaging my efforts. So a lot of you may be experiencing the effects of being sabotaged. Sometimes you'll know it, sometimes you don't. You could even be in a relationship or married to someone who's trying to sabotage you. And you have to recognize that. You know, once you recognize that someone is not on your side and they're working against you, you need to remove yourself from that situation, remove yourself from that person, because toxic people will have you in a toxic situation. You're never going to hear anyone tell you that you can clean a swamp with soap and water, because you can't. You have to drain a swamp. So you may be in a situation that's a swamp and you're thinking, well, I can change him, I can change her. But you can't. You can't always change someone else, because someone else is going to do what they want to do and not what you want them to do. And that's why a lot of people end up realizing that, but they do it in a toxic way of thinking. And they're thinking, well, I can't change him being black men, so let me divest to another race who I view is not toxic. And then when you hop the fence, you get over there, and men are men. No matter what their race or ethnicity or culture is, men are going to be men. Everybody wants to pump and dump. Everybody fetishizes, okay? Especially when it comes to black women. You got the breasts, you got the butt, the small waist. Everybody likes them, okay? Everybody likes them. And a lot of people are going to, may have bad intentions for you, and you have to be able to recognize that, so you're not walking into a swamp, walking into a burning house. Because I'm here to tell you, you walk into a burning house, yes, the couch looks sexy to you. Yes, the TV on the wall looks good to you, and you're admiring the couch, you're admiring the TV, but the house is on fire.
Absolutely. We have a couple of comments I wanted to, you are definitely lighting your light, brother. Thank you so much. I definitely have a couple of comments I wanted to get to. And Neophyte asks, is anybody else coming on to the panel? If you are, you definitely have a few more minutes to do it. We're going to be closing out, but I've been loving just listening to brother. I've been loving listening to everything. I'm engaged in this chat. And I wanted to just focus on a couple of things that you were saying. First of all, when you said that the mothers have got to teach their children, I think that that's an excellent point. I think that it is happening more often than what you might be aware of. There is not a single mother that I know personally in my network. I'm a single mother of two. I have a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old. And there's not a single mother I know in my circle. And I have sisters, I have cousins, I have friends that have enjoyed being a single mother. The interesting part is that I have a lot of single mother friends and people in my network that are single mothers to sons, and sons only. I have a son and a daughter, or I like to say a diamond and a son. But I have found that the single mothers that are parenting their sons, their conversation is definitely different. And I'm not saying that I disagree entirely with that approach, but I think that they have a different responsibility, because it's almost like single mothers of sons have to play this double role. And I also am very fortunate that my ex-husband is involved in my children's lives, and I do have, support in that regard. And also, I do have support in regards to now with being back in a community, because I did, like I said, make a move that I'm back in a community where, there are cousins, there are aunts, there are uncles that are here, are, older cousins that are like uncles. But I think that the responsibility with the mom to a son is different, and I've definitely seen that to be a whole lot more sheltering than I have with the young ladies, if that makes any sense. In regards to how I was brought up personally, I can say this honestly. I was brought up in a 2-parent household, but I was brought up in such a generation of 2-parent households. I began to feel, if it makes sense, I know it doesn't sound right, but I was entitled. I felt entitled. I felt like, marriages were just a given. That just happened naturally. My grandparents were married. My parents were married. Of course I was going to be married. And I found out much too late into my marriage that marriages take work, and that's not a given, So unfortunately, but like I say, I like to take my situation and deal with it exclusively because it was a unique situation, So I will definitely, I own up to that. A lot of my learning in my marriage took place, the end of my marriage, and it took place after I had children. Before you have kids, you move a totally different way. And I think that, that's for a lot of different reasons, that maybe can't all be that discussed tonight. But we're definitely going to get into it because I definitely love this topic. And I really appreciated how the glowers in the room were definitely responding to your information that you were distributing and, appreciating what you're saying to be able to be, these are facts, we need to be concerned about generational wealth and these type of things. I wasn't thinking about it from 19 to 27 because guess what? During that time, I didn't have kids, so it's hard to think about generational wealth when there is not a next generation looking at you. That becomes more of an issue afterwards. Like right now, I'm an insurance broker. I'm a notary. I run my public relations business. I just resigned. I was an elected official down in Miami. I just resigned before I moved up here. I resigned from that position, that seat. So, but these were things that I wasn't interested in doing before having children, before having a family. I was just interested in living my life. And unfortunately, we're speaking to a dynamic of demographic that are still definitely in that mind space, or they're in that mentality. And I love what you said about the music. It's toxic. Was it toxic when we were coming up? Absolutely. However, I think what we were dealing with was more of a balance, and there just doesn't seem to be that type of balance that is present anymore. My group, my network, we speak on this all the time. But I love some of these comments that were said, especially Keisha always comes with it. And I see our glowing list is growing. Our glowing list is glowing. Guys, if you are new to the chat, please just put up a glower. Let us know you're here because remember, I can't see on YouTube because I'm in the StreamYard platform. And so I can't literally see that. Sometimes I get messages late, but if you're in here and I don't, I may not see that you're on here until I look over to the YouTube. So if you could just throw up a glower, throw up a candle, throw up a light bulb, a diamond, whatever represents glowing to you, an explosion, throw that up. Guy, welcome to the chat. Mom and daughter, thank you so much for joining us. I love this comment here. Keisha Green says, be job creators versus job seekers. By being a job seeker, you put money in other communities. A job creator puts the money into their communities. I cannot agree with you more. There are a couple of empty brick and mortars that are over here that I'm definitely already thinking about. There are a couple of things that I do that, I'm like, hey, I need to figure out how to put this right back into this community that I'm living in. I have always lived my life like this. I say, if I'm living in a community, if that community wants me to be there, if there is a space for me in that community should be where I can go, my kids can go to school, where I can work, I can play, and I can, I can live. I don't think that people think about how important that is to your life and your quality of life. If you can actually do all of these things within 5-10 miles of where you're living, the gas that you don't have to waste, the back and forth, being late, because it's, I know a lot of people like to make a joke out of CP time, but I know people in general do not like being late. They accept it, but they don't like it. So, I prided myself on that. Without a car, I never missed a day on the dais, and I was only actually late, I think, one time, and that's because there was a major accident outside of City Hall, and it was a parade, actually, not an accident, and so I was delayed because we were waiting for the parade to pass. Right before Christmas. So yeah, we have to, as a people, just really start to think about these perspectives a whole lot more strategically. You know, as when it goes to dating, as Keisha said, you date for purpose as opposed to passion. Arranged marriages. But this all does lead back into, you know, we're making choices. And I think that's what the divestment conversation, that's where it comes back for. Hello, beautiful one. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, the chat is open. Brother Screen Learner, you can stick around for a little bit. We're going to close out probably about 9:30. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, that works.
You know,
so what I mean by...
I want you. You said what?
So what I meant by so
and in here. I'm sorry.
So I think it's good that I think it's good that we're teaching our children, but by indoctrination, I mean doing things like having family meetings regularly, also teaching them about like the past as far as what we know for our family tree, teaching them about different professions that they can get in, or you know, how does money work, about a business, how does investments work, how does the stock market work, what are asset classes, like literally going to a library, getting academic books in the field of, let's say, finance, accounting, management, and just like
absolutely, our interests have got to be, they've got to be different, other than, like you said, securing the bag. You said you dropped so many gems. I was throwing up all of my glowers. I was throwing all of my glowers. I was like, please, y'all, throw up y'all glowers, because I'm getting tired of just I'm throwing up all the glowers. But all of these buzzwords, leveling up, securing the bag, you know, getting a rich man. And you know what? I did make that mistake earlier, though. I will have to say this. I was responding onto another channel, and I was saying, you know, I was describing leveling up to only white men. And, you know, even though to me that's an unsaid thing, when I said this, people were like, oh, we're not saying that, you know, only white men have money, da 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 da. And I say, okay, so I did misstate, but I misstated because the negative has always been associated to the black man. And so when you drop some gems today, brother, when you said things like bottom shelf Brad, you know, Dustyism, no race has a monopoly on Dustyism. Let's just get it real. And no race has a monopoly on the level up or the high value men. And like I said, I was definitely married to a high value man who was 100% African American from New Orleans. Parents were 100% African American. Father and mother married all the years of, you know, his life and all the years that I ever knew him. And they were married young, 19 and 16 years of age. So, you know, we've got to stop debunking. We've got to start controlling this narrative and realizing that we're the writer of these stories here. You know, my life.
If I could jump in, so I agree. Right. I agree with the level up movement. It's just that the way that it's described and packaged is designed to basically scam people. So level up is really upward mobility. Because women, when you all get pregnant and you have children and you should stay home with your children to socialize your children and help raise them, the man should be making enough for you to stay home and be a housewife or a house mom or what have you. So I agree with the level up movement. We really should call it upward mobility, which is what it is. And we should focus on marriage being a business and the goal of dating, not getting in the backseat of someone's vehicle and busting down or getting flued out. All this negative connotations kind of goes into the fact that in our world there's duality. And so for everything that's positive, there's a negative to it. So the positive aspect of a woman marrying up, marrying an older man, or marrying a man who can take care of her, whether she works or not, and take care of any children they have, is upward mobility. But the yang to that, or the negative part of that duality relationship, is the level up, where it's shaming men who don't make enough money, calling them dusty and this and that. And unfortunately, because of the path our culture and society has been on, that shaming language has to be used to deter women from getting into relationships that are negative, relationships where it's not someone who is marriage material. Same thing for men, running around and giving your sperm to everybody, making a whole bunch of babies, and then having the government take care of your children through welfare and social programs. That's a no-go. That's not something that we should strive for. And the shaming language that is used should be used to deter unwanted behavior and poor performance, because a lot of people are, when they finally wake up and their crown chakra is empty of everything negative and their third eye is open, they look around and realize that a lot of choices that they made in life have them stuck in a hole. And a lot of people are having to climb out of the hole just to be, let's just say, balanced as far as being able to pay your bills, handle your liabilities, and even save money. Most people are check to check, as opposed to being able to live in abundance and live in an overflow. So I do agree with the shaming language. I do agree with us using our stories of where, like you said, Courtney, you married a high value man, then you had children, and then he was able to take care of you and your children. So your story is different than a lot of women who are in these chat rooms trying to level up and shaming others. And that's the difference. That's the reason why you're able to be in those chat rooms and not be negatively affected, because you went down a path that's positive. You went down a traditional path. Other people don't go down that path. They put the cart before the horse. And then what ends up happening is they wake up one day, the crown chakra is emptied, third eye is open, throat chakra is good to go, but they end up blaming others for their situation, and now they're stuck. So we definitely want to not just teach our children, but indoctrinate them. The same way our school system, whether private or public, indoctrinates our children and teaches them about history of the victor, teaches them about civics, teaches them about math, different things that they may not use in life. The same way that our school system and society indoctrinates them, we need to indoctrinate them, but do a better job, so that when they get into a situation and they're not with us, they go back to that indoctrination and end up thinking, okay, what would my father do in this situation? You know what? Let me leave this thug alone because I don't want to shame my family. See, other cultures, they focus on the family being shamed by an action or a risk of an action, and that prevents them from making poor decisions. We don't shame each other enough. Right now, if you go into the hood, what is one thing they say? Snitches get stitches. Don't call the police. So now you have a situation where you may be the victim of a proximity crime, but you don't want to call the cops. So now you're dealing with your unresolved issues, that trauma is building inside of you. And with that trauma building inside of you, you have resentment and animosity to the person who committed a crime against you or did you wrong, and people who support that person and maybe even look like the person. That's what starts a lot of these negative emotions, negative feelings, and causes them to get into these online cults where they're bashing people and saying different things, and they end up being programmed. Yeah, alimony and child support will be more than provided for, especially if you used to be married to somebody. And see, there's a whole, we could talk about this for hours. I don't want to hog the mic completely, but we definitely need to change the way we think about things, change the culture, especially the whole snitches get stitches, and especially the whole sagging of the pants, and promoting the rap music and the gang lifestyle. We got to leave all that alone. And anyone who refuses to leave that alone or makes excuses for it, we have to be willing to throw them away. We got to be willing to throw people, parts of the culture away that are toxic. I got it. We want to put on a cape and we want to go in and we want to save people. We want to change the world, but you have to accept that you have to take people and things as is and focus on yourself and put yourself first. You can't put the whole world on your back. If you do so, your back's going to be broken. So in the words of some of those people in those groups, sometimes you may have to burn the cape and save yourself. I'll just kind of keep rolling.
Going to be, thank you so much, brother. We have a couple of guests that will be joining the panel. We have my brother Guy Nollywood, who has a great channel. And then we also have, and please make sure you drop your link, Guy, for your channel. And we have my Mr. Millennial, brother Neophyte, that will be joining us in just one moment. I just wanted to also state here,
while we wait for Courtney to come back.
But it wasn't me doing these things in a proper order. It was my ex-husband doing them in a proper order. Let me tell you,
it was both of you.
I was very blessed that there was no contention on anything when it came time to make the arrangements for the divorce. The divorce was I would never wish a divorce on anybody. So anyone that says that they're looking forward to the divorce so they can get the money from alimony, the time that you miss out on is way more to me valuable than just the monetary end of it. But I definitely, once again, have to give all my flowers to the living. He's never contested on anything. He did also try to 2 times since we've been divorced, he has tried to file for sole custody. That's the only thing that I've ever disagreed with him on. And both times he went ahead and retracted that petition. But that does hurt to ever even insinuate. Because let me tell y'all something about me, y'all. If you want to know one thing about me, even with me being single and celibate these last almost 6 years now, I'm not just looking for a man. I enjoy my children very much, y'all. We are a tribe. I definitely do. I'm not looking for a baby daddy. And like I say, I have great support. I have a great ex-husband. I have a great, my daughter's fathers, the due diligence is there. So I'm not just looking for someone to plug in and be playing daddy to these children. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Is saggy pants still in style? Not to me, Miss Stephanie. They were never in style to me. So without further ado, we're going to bring 2 additions to the panel. Are you ready for that, brother? Brother, we in here? Okay.
Yeah,
we're going to bring 2 additions to the panel. Just let me add them up. And Mr. Millennial. Everybody here?
Hey, Miss Courtney, how you doing?
Hotep to the family. How y'all doing?
Hey, what's going on?
Peace.
So Courtney's stepped off the panel. So I guess if you all want to, speak your piece as far as the concept, or maybe you have any questions or any comments or anything, I guess just go ahead and shoot. Because
All right.
He's been jumping
Yes.
off.
Thank you, thank you. So I was just saying, hey, Mr. Millennial, thank you so much. I was actually on a show yesterday. I had to unsubscribe because it got crazy. But I just said for younger men, just like kind of your age group too, Mr. Millennial, that are looking to actually be in a relationship with a woman, you might have to look for older women. And I was on a channel saying this last night, and the host was like, oh, I can't get with you. You know, you're too old and you have these kids. And I'm like, I'm not saying it has to be me. I'm not saying it has to be me, but I'm saying you have to think a little bit ahead, because the ladies in your age group are not going to be as serious, you know? So
fortunately
I'm
for
glad
me,
that
I'm
you're
not.
joining this panel tonight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not exactly looking right now. Not looking at all, really. I'm married.
Not that you are looking now, but I'm just saying when you are looking, that's something to keep in mind.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind, definitely.
That
Especially
the
when I
women
give my
in your
point of
age
view.
group may not be on your. Exactly. They may not be. And we have Brother Guy joining us tonight. So, yes. So, gentlemen, thank you. Welcome so much to the panel. I think that works best, this setup. I'm playing around with these, with the angles. I think that works best. But thank you so much and welcome. I'm going to put myself on mute until I'm further being asked anything. But just want to give your thoughts about the question, the topic tonight. Does divorce mean divestment? You know, what does divestment mean to you?
That's a tough one right there. Seeing how as I actually have gone through a divorce in my second marriage right now, what I can contribute is the fact that I was young, in a younger state of mind, and made a lot of mistakes myself. First off, listening to what other people's opinions were about the concept of what marriage is supposed to be, especially in America compared to African American culture, or African culture to be exact. I strongly believe that we come from very particular cultures. A lot of different cultures from the continent made it over here to this land, and I think that we collectively have an amnesia as to how we're supposed to be living. But somewhere deep inside of our genetic code, these things start to personify themselves, and we take them as mental issues especially when it comes to relationships. Right? They start manifesting themselves in how we look at each other, mainly because of the trauma that we've gone through as far as in forced labor, if you will. I'm going to go drop off that and let anybody else comment on that. So I'm not just going and taking over the show.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
There's furthermore, I really don't think that enough of us have really taken into consideration that we do need counseling before we get bound to one another in a contract such as marriage. Marriage is very important, especially to our culture. Our culture, being bonded together is paramount. But because we have this exacting standard of American society, we fall short in our own eyes. When in fact we're using the wrong system. Right? This culture is not for us. We definitely need to unlock that that potential that's within all of us. Frankly speaking.
What would that system look like?
Well,
like what would right look like?
First off, nature gives us a very good model of what our structures would be, depending on what region of the continent we came from. Right? Lions, for example, have a very complicated system. Gorillas have a complicated system, all of which give a good format of how we're supposed to be living. Penguins give another one of how we're supposed to be in a relationship as well. So you kind of take your pick. Any one of those models would do. I mean, that is if everybody's kind of familiar with these structures that I'm talking about.
I've watched the Animal Planet.
Yeah, yeah.
Seen,
I know it sounds a little weird.
I've seen that. Well, no, it doesn't sound weird. It's just because we are high-level beings, and animals, in my opinion, are lower level. It's just interesting to kind of take that dynamic. I do agree with that as far as like tribalism and collectivism, because with animals, they don't care about things like social class, for example.
I actually I have to respectfully disagree on two things. I don't believe that animals are a lower level spirituality. I believe they're elevated, mainly because of their needs. Their needs are on a level to where they don't need the same things that we do. We feel the need to have things they don't, which is profound to me, like kind of like a Gandhi thing or a Buddha thing, to minimize what your needs are is to be divine. Animals are ultimately divine.
So you're saying that animals are superior to humans?
Not superior, just without needs and wants.
He's saying in that particular category, that's something that they it is a more elevated way of thinking. It's more primal, but it's not as because there is not a hindrance. They don't feel the need to possess other things outside of, that's the only thing that matters to animals is their tribe and other animals, making sure they're surviving. That literally is the only thing. They don't, they're not sitting around talking about, well, I got the tallest tree. We all eating. That's what the statement is. So I definitely understand what Sam. I definitely understand what you're saying, and you're coming from, Mr. Millennial. Neophyte, you should just change your name. I'm just gonna put it out there. Your name is Mr. Millennial. I just love it. That's you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I have that one last thing before I move on. The second part will be the tribalism thing. I strongly believe that the tribal mentality is not something that is what's the word I'm looking for here? It's not an African concept, technically. I mean, if you really look at the word itself or the terminology, it kind of comes from Greco-Roman and Greek terminology. It was the Greeks and the Romans that actually had tribes. There were smaller family groups that they derived from. When you look at it, African society always had some sort of matriarchal society or patriarchal kind of way of living. They had a construct, and kind of everybody else kind of gleamed their way of living or their elevated way of living from different points of views from African societies. So I've tried to eliminate the tribal idea from how I look at the different social structures in African culture, kind of looking at it at a different angle. And so far, it's enlightened me to a point where I don't look at the family structure the same way anymore. Yep.
Someone, you got a compliment there in the room, Mr. Millennial. They said this caller is on point. I said Mr. Millennial is always on point. Yes, Mr. Millennial, Neophyte, make sure you email me. I definitely want to invite you into a group chat that we're doing tomorrow. I think that you were awesome. I think that, you should get some exposure. You should get onto some other panels. We got to get you mixed up in there. So I'm definitely going to throw up my email out here. And everybody is always welcome to email me, but I definitely want to make sure that Mr. Neophyte, you have it. Email me if you're interested in getting into this group chat tomorrow. It's going to be with other content creators. I definitely think that you're an excellent person to get into some of these other panels, these other shows. Another comment by
I'm
B.
humbled and
Stephanie,
honored.
Bewitched. What'd you say?
I said I'm definitely humbled and honored. Thank you.
I hope you can join us. I know it's short notice. Okay, so this comment says, Bewitched, B. Stephanie, Bewitched, not bothered. We're all animals. Humans are a separate species with the ability to create, the only difference. And the fact that we have use of this. That's our big, in the primate culture, that's the use of our thumb. That
is true. That is true.
I did.
This is what makes us superior. If you guys
there are opposable thumbs.
That's a great movie.
Well, monkeys and apes have the appendage, the thumb appendage as well. So it kind of. I mean, I agree with him. We are animals. We're all animals.
Wow. Stephanie is coming with this tonight. Stephanie said, unlike human animals who do fear death and kill for sport, humans are an interesting species. Animals don't fear death. If y'all seen Planet of the Apes, y'all know Caesar went in. Caesar goes in. Caesar goes hard. Caesar's the best leader, I think, that we've seen in this in our generation. I love all of the Planet of the Apes. I started watching them, years ago. I remember taking my kids as babies to go see them, the new versions and the succession of them. And it's just been such a great telltale sign about leadership, about tribalism, about gentrification. I'm telling you, these things go in. All right, so we are wrapping up. Guy, anything you wanted to add to this conversation? I know we've been jam-packing it, and I know you already had a live earlier today, so thank you for jumping on this with us. What did you want to add to this conversation? I'd love to hear it.
Man, I just want to say thanks for having me. Peace to the brother, these two brothers on the panel. I just want to add on something about marriage. I think marriage is very important. I mean, I think marriage is different from back then to now. I mean, I think marriage was more because family. When you're dealing with the black family, the African family, it's more. That's the power base of black people, right? So back then the you saw the black man, he's in the house, he's working his 9 to 5. You see the mother, the wife was always home, she raising the kids. Nowadays it's more 2 parents have to work, we got to they got to find a babysitter, so it's more like a struggle now. I do believe in home training, the kids. I agree with the brother about we have to re-indoctrinate our children because we have to eliminate all this European garbage. We got to get rid of all this Christopher Columbus discovered America crap. It's all garbage. Look, our people already wrote books like Dr. Van Sertima. We had Dr. Ben. We had Dr. Diop. All these African brothers that wrote African history and showed that we have built the world. We built the planet. We the one that helped build other people's civilizations. You know what I'm saying? So we have to instill that our children that we are great people. You know what I'm saying? And we have to eliminate all that European, because all my life I was taught that we were slaves and and Dr. King, and which Dr. King was for his people. He didn't put the civil rights only, the civil rights movement wasn't for everybody. It was really for us. But what happens, the government stepped in and said, well, since you want that, everybody going to benefit from it. And that was a slap in the face. So, instead, we should have protected that. We should have said, no, it's only for us. But as you can see, and I just did a show talking about the Casual Killing Act, that we're still being gunned down in the street. They taking the black man out the homes. We know about the public, you know about the welfare system, the public assistance, how they tell the black woman she can't have a man in the house, where that also is a self-destruct mechanism how they use against us. So we have to really know to understand what is racism and how we can build the black families again. We need more unity in the homes, because the unity starts from home. So we have to and that whole myth that the black woman can't raise a young black child or whatever, black male, that's a myth. Because I was raised by my mother was single. She was, it was just me and my sister, and she raised me, as a man. She told me how, hey, if you see a girl that you like, you buy her flowers and stuff like that. That's what men do. She taught me how a man should be. Now, the only thing was missing was that male dominance, as far as the male should say, look, you got to know how to fight. You got to defend. You got to protect. You know what I mean? That was what I missed in there, and that because a woman could do so much, right? As far as black men, they also contribute. What I'm saying? They also as also an important factor. That's why it's very important for the black man to be in the house. So I didn't learn how to fight and know how to defend myself and protect families until hip hop. So when the brother said, well, I can't really reject hip hop, because hip hop taught me how to be a strong man, to make me to defend my family. So, I can't reject hip hop too much. You know what I'm saying? Because even Tupac said hip hop was his daddy. He didn't have a father in the home and to tell him, look, you need to do this, and teach him how to fish, and you know what I'm saying? But my mother, she taught me how to sew. She taught me how to cook. But when it came down to, but she didn't want me to fight. She didn't, because I'm her only son. So I guess she was maybe afraid of that. She may be afraid of me getting in trouble. I don't know. But for that myth that a black woman can't raise her son to be a man, that's a myth. She can raise her son to be a man, because my mother did it. So we have to teach our children survival skills, and basically we have to just learn how to keep the wealth. We got to learn how to keep the wealth, because everybody know when and yes, if you want to say that we are tribal, right? So you have the Africans, because we consider African people, at the end of the day. Then you got the Europeans, you got the Indians, you got the Asians. We all different tribes. It's no different than the animal kingdom. You have your elephants, you have your giraffes, you have your alligators. We all in our tribal thing. So we have to learn to stay together and keep the wealth in our race. You know what I'm saying? And it starts from home. The black man, the black woman, and child, the Trinity. So that's what we need, and that's what, to me, and we have to reunite with other black families, and that's how we create a nation that way. So I think the brother was on point, that we have to instill that in our children, what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman. We missed that. We let society dictate to us what is being a woman can be a man and a man could be a woman. It's all types of nonsense. We gotta reject all that European garbage. We gotta reject that. But we have our culture, we have our way of life, just like other races have their way of life. Europeans have their way of living. We can't mimic every other race. We have our way of doing things, and we have to maintain that. And that's always been my problem. You know what I'm saying? That's always been my problem with society, that you can't bully me in your way, you know? So I just wanted to throw that in there, you know, but this been a great show. I really appreciate y'all inviting me. And definitely, this is definitely a powerful program.
Brother, I always love Guy and I have been rocking, just so you know, the other members of the panel know, we've been rocking for 12 years, over a decade. And Guy has been consistent since day one. I can't say the same for me, but I can tell you ever since I met him, he's just been just as solid, just as consistent on messaging, on narrative control. When I met Guy, I literally, my daughter was about 4 months old. I used to have to cut, taping because my daughter was needing to go down in the background. And so, he's seen the transition, and he saw me kind of be very oblivious to how important marriages were when I was in one, to not having one, to being divorced, to being engaged. Because when I was engaged, I didn't shoot at all. And he would every now and again, he would message and say, "Hey, how you don't do videos no more?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm living. Like, I don't have time for it." So when I came back this go around, he has been so supportive. And I definitely think, it's for times such as this, because the code that he speaks of, like, I'm there mentally. I wasn't there, even though we were having the conversations, I wasn't committed to the code then. But to see that transition and to know that it's real, that our families, because just to put things in perspective, when Guy and I first started, interacting, that was the first year that Barack Obama was president. Yep. I actually, used to canvas for his campaign. And as we've transitioned to now with being Trump, I promise you, we wouldn't have thought we were going to be having this conversation 12 years later with Trump being president. But I say that to say this, that if we would have known how important it was back then for more people to get on code and see it, would there have been what has happened now? So this is where he speaks of so passionately with the importance of getting the message at the moment. Because you understand, for some people, they don't get tomorrow. I thank God that I got the 12 years and I got the learning, and I have been engaging in that conversation and in that understanding. But some people don't get tomorrow, and we lose it. We lose our opportunities that way, with thinking that we have tomorrow. Tomorrow's not promised. That's why it's important for us to get on code, stand on the square, and get these messages today. Start building. You build generational wealth today. Build it before you have another generation. Absolutely. So we're going to be wrapping up. I'm going to yield the floor. Brother Screen Learning, you have been a gem. You want to close out today with any last words, parting words?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Millennial, and I forgot your brother's name. I'm sorry. I'm used to the names being.
It's Brother
Ghana.
Guy.
Brother Guy. I agree with them as far as animals being like our spirit animals and being spiritually better off than we are. Because I'm here to tell you that if I could be an animal and not have to worry about money and possessions and shelter, I would do it. I have flirted with the fantasy of kind of envying people who are homeless, because besides them, begging for food and whatnot, they don't really need much to survive. They don't have to go to a corporate plantation. They don't really need much. But I don't think we should be homeless. I think just in the vein of spirit animals and being spiritual and being more like them, because they do fight over territory, but they're not like how we as humans are. We've done a lot of horrible things to ourselves. And I think a lot of great information and points were put out there. Thanks for having me. I look forward to coming back, for an open panel and just kind of having a dialogue with everybody else.
We thank you, Brother Neophyte, Mr. Millennial. Any parting words you want to share and impart?
It would probably take up another hour. But no, this was a good show. Unfortunately, I couldn't come in but halfway into it, as I'd really like to go in to this conversation a lot more, because there's a lot of things to cover. I'm very passionate about.
Not to cut you off, but I know Courtney has to go. Mr. Millennial, if you want to continue the conversation, I can host, or you can host, and we can continue the dialogue if it's okay with you.
That would be great. I think it'd be easier for you to host, as I'm kind of multitasking right now.
Okay. Well, everybody's invited,
right.
but go ahead. I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off. I just had to throw that out there in case the live were to end before you got done talking.
Nah, great point, man. Great point.
Shut the front door. You see what B. Stephanie Bewitched Not Bothered just said in the chat? Go ahead, Mr. Millennial. Sorry about that. I'm just.
We have a breaking news announcement.
Yeah. Wow.
I can't see it right now.
Bewitched Not Bothered added a breaking news announcement. Trump 2020. Let me tell you, I ran for office as a Republican. But I am no longer a Republican, but I did run for office as a Republican. I definitely learned the most about any party when I was a Republican. I can tell you that. I learned a lot about policies, not people. It was a direct reversal of what I had been taught in the Democratic Party. So I just definitely wanted to add that. Definitely want us to be aware. We're going to have to have another show in regards to I'm going to have to bring my sister back on the panel. She's a political strategist here in Atlanta, Georgia. And yes, screen learning. I am in the United States. I'm in Atlanta.
Okay.
I just moved back. I was here about a decade ago. I moved back from Miami. I was an elected official in Miami. I was the youngest elected official in Coconut Grove, Miami, Florida. So, I want to thank again all of my panelists tonight. The email is down there, Brother Neophyte, Mr. Millennial. If you would like to email me and get into this chat that we're having tomorrow, I know Screen Learning will be there. I know Guy will be there. We have a few other content creators that will be there. I definitely, I think you got the right stuff. Come on up.
I appreciate it. I'll leave my email in the
Okay, so
in the
leave
comment
it in
box,
the room,
in the comment box below.
Take a look at mine, send an email, whatever one you feel comfortable with, that's fine by me. I want to remind everyone that this is a season of, we are supposed to be joining up with like-minded quality people. That is, I think, what has happened with COVID. It has made us more aware of priorities with how we're spending that time. Who we're, if you could not go outside for the rest of your life, who's in your network that you're willing to say, this is it for me? I'm not meeting no new friends. I think we need to be reminded of that. I definitely appreciate everyone's contribution to the divestment conversation tonight. Keisha Green, always thank you. B. Stephanie Bewitched Not Bothered. You were amazing with your interaction. Mama Nike, you were definitely a mama imparting wisdom. Mom and daughter, thank you for gracing us tonight. Candace Owens' baby is due in December. Wow. Right after the presidency, huh? Right after the election.
Yeah, that's the That's what I was surprised about, because her being pregnant will pretty much it should take her out
Right.
the
She
picture.
doesn't. Right. She hit that very, very well. We might have to do some investigation with that. They might be growing. They might be doing some growing babies, Manchurian Candidate style somewhere.
Well, it'll kind of give us a break from her giving comfort food to racists about different things in the news. It'll give.
Black
I'm just saying.
Introvert TV. Thank you for joining us. He is straight from the manosphere, the Black Pill documentaries. Guys, I want to again invite our glowers to be a part of this glow up journey. We are glowing up, not leveling up. Glowing up is done with intention, accountability, and purpose. Glow diggers glow bigger, and glow getters glow better. It is not about what you are what you're able to attract. It's about who you are and what appeals to you. Okay, so we have to get a little bit more strategic in how we are building up these communities in the next. And definitely, I don't think the solution is divesting from the very magic that made us. Absolutely. So with that being said, tonight, y'all know what to do. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe this video. If anything was said that was of purpose to you, if anything that was said that was dropping jewels, even if it wasn't, if you want to engage further, I am here for it. I don't run from it. I do not involve myself with petty conversations, but I tell you, if it's something that I can learn or I can glean from you in regards to our perspectives being shared, I welcome it. Until next time, y'all know what to do. Glow up.
And also, Mr. Millennial, I put my email in the chat. You probably can't see it because the stream is ended.